On the 10th April 1912, a huge ship named RMS Titanic started its very first journey. It was going from Southampton, England to New York, America. Titanic was the biggest and most luxurious ship of its time. It was like a floating palace. It had swimming pools, a gym, restaurants, a library, and even Turkish baths. People called it the unsinkable ship because everyone believed it could never sink. The captain of the Titanic was Edward Smith, a 62-year-old man. There were rich people, famous people, and also many poor immigrants on board who were hoping for a better life in America. On the 12th April, the ship started getting iceberg warnings. Other ships sent messages saying, "Be careful, there are icebergs ahead." The Titanic changed direction twice but kept going very fast, about 40 kilometers per hour. By 14th April, more warnings came, but the captain did not slow down. That night, the sea was very dark. There was no moon. At 11:39 p.m., a man named Frederick Fleet, who was watching from the lookout, suddenly saw a huge iceberg. He rang the bell and warned the crew, but it was too late. At 11:40 p.m., the Titanic hit the iceberg on its right side. The iceberg tore open 6 compartments of the ship. The Titanic could only survive if 4 compartments got water, but now there were 6. This meant the ship was going to sink. The captain quickly sent distress signals asking for help. A nearby ship, the Carpathia, received the message, but it was too far away and would take 3.5 hours to arrive. To make things worse, many lifeboats went half empty in the beginning because people thought the ship was safe. By 1 a.m., the front of the ship went underwater and the back rose high. People started panicking. At 2:05 a.m., the last lifeboat was lowered. Over 1,500 people were still trapped. At 2:20 a.m., the Titanic broke in 2 pieces and sank. Many people drowned or died in the freezing water, which was -2 degrees Celsius. The Carpathia finally arrived around 3:30 a.m., but by then the Titanic had already sunk. Only around 700 people survived. Another ship, the SS Californian, was much closer, only 37 kilometers away. But its radio was turned off, and its captain ignored the distress flares, thinking they were fireworks. If it had helped, many more lives could have been saved. The Titanic disaster shocked the world. Rules were changed. Every ship must have lifeboats for all passengers. An ice patrol was created to warn ships about icebergs, and safety drills became compulsory. In 1985, scientists finally found the wreck of the Titanic, lying 3.8 kilometers under the ocean. The ship is now slowly breaking apart, and experts say it may disappear completely by 2030. Even after more than 100 years, people are still fascinated by the Titanic story. After the Titanic sank, people all around the world were very shocked and very sad. Newspapers everywhere wrote about the unsinkable ship that had sunk on its very first trip. Families lost their loved ones, and many people asked, how could this happen? Because of this big tragedy, many new rules were made to keep passengers safe. Ships were now required to carry enough lifeboats for everyone on board. They also had to practice safety drills, so that if an emergency happened, people would know what to do. Another important change was the creation of the International Ice Patrol in 1914. This group still exists today. Their job is to watch the ocean and warn ships about icebergs so that another Titanic disaster never happens again. For many years, people wondered, where is the Titanic now? The ship had disappeared under the dark sea. Finally, in 1985, a team of explorers found the wreck of Titanic lying deep under the ocean, about 3.8 kilometers below the surface. When scientists sent cameras down, they saw the ship broken in 2 parts, resting quietly on the ocean floor. Fish and sea creatures swam around it. The grand staircase, the bedrooms, and even dishes were still there, but everything looked old, rusty, and covered with sea plants. Scientists say that little by little, the Titanic is being eaten away by tiny bacteria. By the year 2030, the whole ship might disappear completely into the sea. Even though the Titanic is gone, people still remember it. Books, movies, museums, and even songs have been made about this ship. Many people visit Titanic exhibitions to see items from the ship, like clothes, jewelry, and even parts of the staircase. And here's something amazing. Some people are even trying to build a new ship called Titanic 2 that looks like the original Titanic but will be much safer. If it ever sails, it will remind the world of the famous ship that sank on its first journey. So the Titanic story is not just about a sinking ship. It is a lesson for everyone that we should never be overconfident and we should always respect nature. The ocean is powerful and safety should always come first. Even today, more than 110 years later, the Titanic lives on in our hearts as both a beautiful dream and a tragic warning. When the Titanic was finally found deep under the ocean in 1985, the world became curious again. People wanted to know what the ship looked like after all those years. Special submarines with cameras went down to the wreck. They showed broken walls, rusty railings, and even shoes and cups lying on the seabed. It felt like the Titanic was frozen in time, still holding the memories of that night. But the ocean never forgets. Slowly, tiny creatures in the water began to eat away at the ship's metal. Scientists say that by 2030, the Titanic may completely disappear. This made people wonder, should we let the ship rest in peace, or should we try to bring it back? Some explorers have already picked up items from the wreck, like jewelry, plates, and even parts of the staircase, and placed them in museums. When kids and families see these things, they imagine what life was like on the Titanic before it sank. Even today, many people dream about sailing on a ship like Titanic. That's why a billionaire once announced a plan to build Titanic 2, a ship that would look almost the same as the first Titanic, but with modern technology and safety. And maybe this is the real magic of the Titanic story. Even though the ship sank long ago, its memory keeps sailing in people's hearts. It teaches us that no matter how big or powerful something seems, we must always stay humble and careful. The Titanic story continues to remind us that life is precious, safety is important, and nature is stronger than we think. And as long as people remember the Titanic, the unsinkable ship will never truly sink in our memories.